Friends from the Road. You are now listening to the Friends from the Road podcast.
Gaining new friends along the journey. Sharing stories that inspire, encourage, and motivate.
Friends from the Road podcast. Now here's your host, Daniel Hurd.
It's been a beautiful day today, but as I prepared to do this episode, you could see gray clouds strolling in little chunks, but it's still daylight out. It is now just about 7:30 at night when I'm recording this episode, and it is still daylight. It's beautiful. I love it. I love having more daylight at the end of the day. But what's great right now is the beautiful blues, the pinks and oranges that are hitting the clouds, and you could see the darkness that we're going to be getting rain. But you know, today I'm going back in time. I'm actually going back to North Dakota to speak to a friend of mine and, you know, to have an idea about where I was in North Dakota. As I was going through from Fargo, I was heading south, and I ended up in a town called Morton. And I was at a gas station. I was getting a drink and a snack so I could continue my day. And a gentleman named Tom had noticed me from the Fargo News. And he had told me about this festival that was going on this weekend in a town called Wyndmere. Now, if you don't know what Wyndmere is, you wouldn't think it's called. If you look at the name spelling, it's not Wyndmere. Well, when I was first there and I was talking to everybody, I thought it was Windmere. And, you know, it was, he had suggested it. And at first, going back, I was like, you know, I can't. I was on track. I was trying to stay focused, get further south, try to stay warm. It was September. And I was eating my snack, and a couple minutes later, I decided that I had nothing but time. And so I ended up going to Wyndmere, and I ended up staying the night for a couple nights at this place called the Black Pelican. It's a hotel, motel, bar, restaurant, you know, small town, got everything you need there. And it was just a great time. I ended up doing the whole festival and getting to see the Demolition Derby going on and it was just a great time. And I got to meet a lot of great people. And some of those people I got to meet is one, a really good friend of mine, and he is actually now one of my members of the OPAT movement, Sean Morris. And he ended up giving me a place to stay on his property and really coordinating some things. And I ended up meeting a lot of the people in the community and a lot of the children in the community because I did a lot of events through the festival, and I was doing speeches. So I ended up doing speeches for the American Legion and for the school system. And it was really an honor. And through that, I got to meet, again, a lot of great people. And one of those people I got to meet was Heather Haberman. And, you know, she is here today to talk about her son, Jessy's movement. And, you know, I say movement because I actually wanted to get Heather on here back when I was doing Movement Monday. But every time I prepared to do the episode, I personally got too emotional. And there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that during the episode. But it's an honor to have you, Heather, finally on the episode. Finally, you know, I've been trying for months. But it's a pleasure to have you on a beautiful night here. I hope it's a beautiful night there. And just so you know, I did get a Batman keychain when I was at the Wyndmere Festival. And I still have that even after my accident, and it will continue to go with me. And I use that as a reminder for myself, primarily because it's a reminder, you know, that there is amazing people of all ages everywhere. And Jessy's is proof of that. And so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, let's just first start off with talking about who is Jessy?
Jessy is my son. He was born in 2009. When he was born, you know, pregnancy was great. Everything was fine. After we had him, I had noticed that he looked a little different. And I even asked the nurses, I'm like, is there something wrong with my baby? And they're like, nope, he's perfect. And the next morning they came to us and they said, your son has a syndrome, but we're not sure what kind. And we're going to test him for 2. And out of the 2, you want the lesser of the 2 evils. And my husband and I, we looked at each other. We were completely stunned. At that point, they told us that the chances of him walking, talking, or even rolling were non-existent. They did not expect him to do that because of his features. Your features when you're born describe your kind of where your syndrome is. Your eyes need to line up with your ears, and your nose and your bridge in the placement of your eyes. Well, his ears were way lower. His eyes were, luckily for him, they were evenly apart, but they were more closer to the side of his head than in the middle. And his nose, he didn't have like a bridge for his nose. And then the top of your lip where you have that little indentation, I don't know the name of it, but he didn't even have that. So there's different things like that that he had that were not the normal. And he's our third child at the time. And
so, yeah, you were definitely aware of what a baby should look like at that point.
Right. Yeah. And so they came in and they said, okay, so within the first week he had been back into the hospital, and we were really just kind of nervous for him because we didn't know what to expect. And as a parent, the one thing you want is you want the best for your kids. Doesn't matter. You just want what's best for them, and you don't want them to hurt. And he was in and out of the hospital. When he was 6 weeks old, he quit breathing on me, and I gave him life for the second time, I always say. I had to give him CPR, and they had to rush him by ambulance, and the ambulance actually had to help him start breathing again. I bet that was very an emotional time for you and for your family, really, it was.
too.
It really was. My mother-in-law lives on the same farm as I do. Mm-hmm. And I had just been going from her house to my house, which is just kind of like you just meander over. And I had stopped to get the mail, and he was making these weird noises. And yeah, that was the scariest time. It took a long time for me to be able to drive again, actually. So it was just the scare in you is just continuous. And so further doctoring, the two that they thought he had for syndrome, he had neither one of them. And so they did some more testing, and they're still doing testing. So when he was 6 months old, was he like 6 or 7 months old? He had his first major surgery. He had craniostenosis. That's where your skull fuses together prematurely. Mm. And so they had that one fixed for him. And that was kind of, they cut along up here. I always called it his Charlie Brown scar. Okay. Because they had the zigzag like his shirt. So we named scars in our house.
I love that name. I have a friend that is obsessed with Charlie Brown. I'm going to tell him about that so he can listen to this episode for that reason.
Yeah. So that was his first major surgery. And we did that at Mayo in Rochester, Minnesota, which we were very fortunate to have it so close. We're 6 hours away. And that is such a blessing. Yeah. And then
Mayo is a huge clinic for you guys, correct?
Oh,
especially for only because I know Sean's family, the Morris family, also has Dan. Yep. So I know they go to Mayo a lot. So Mayo's a huge hospital for you guys.
Yeah, to get to Mayo is you have to have something seriously wrong with you to go to Mayo, and people from all over the country. I've been there, and Gandhi was there.
Wow.
I've seen some celebrities in the hallway a couple times. And if you get to be really good friends with the nurses, they might tell you who's all been there, but they don't even know when they're going to be on that floor. So, they tell you kind of like little stories, little bits and pieces. They don't tell you too much, but yeah. So I've been there when there's been like famous people there. It's a well-known place, and we're very lucky to have it so close. So he had his first surgery, and then he had his second surgery around right before he turned 2. He had open heart surgery, and that one was not that bad. He did pretty good. He looked at the doctor, and he just said, "I go home." That's all he said. He just wanted to go home. So they let him actually out after 3 days, which they never do.
Wow.
But he was determined he wanted to go home. So he came home, and he started putting his baby sister's bed together. He ended up having a little sister after that. So we have 4 kids. Mm-hmm. And so he was helping putting the crib back together when he got home. And I'm just like, this kid doesn't look like somebody who just had open heart surgery.
Right after having open heart surgery, he's like, I want to be the big brother.
Oh, yeah. He's just getting right in there. And so that scar we called his man scar, because that scar only real men get.
Okay.
Or women, so we called that his man scar. So, we name every scar.
So you had quite a few names then.
Well, some of them, we were in little places where we didn't always say where they, so yeah. So, he had some hernias and stuff like that. So he's had some other, yeah. And then after that one, he had his tonsils, adenoids, and his epiglottis shaved off. And
How was that?
That was because that's from his breathing. He couldn't get his airway. And when they were on the operating table, he quit breathing. And so they had to go back in there and they had to shave off part of his epiglottis so he could get the right amount of air.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was, yeah. So that was that one. And then he had some tubes and some other just, I call them minor surgeries. I think he had like 7 or 8 sets of tubes. And then he's had a hernia surgery and just things like that. But when he was 4 years old, he had some iron issues. He has what was called von Willebrand's, and that is a blood disorder where your blood doesn't clot. And so when we went there, he was really nervous because he knew all of this equipment. I mean, we spent days and weeks in the hospital for, different things like he had pneumonia. He had, so many different things. Like his immune system was not like everybody else's. And when he got sick, he got sick.
Yeah. So he was no stranger to the equipment. He
was not a stranger. And so when we went in, and where we go to get infusions is the cancer center. Mm-hmm. And so you see all these big, scary poles, and we're big on naming things. So we name his poles too, because they're your friend. You got to take them along. So when we seen the poles, I'm like, well, what are you going to name your pole today? Just trying to get his mind off of everything. And he's sitting there and he's thinking, he's like, I don't know, because he's always going like that. And, so he was coming up with a name. And at that time they come in and they started like, hey, Jess, what's your favorite movie to watch? And at that time it was How to Train Your Dragons. He loved Toothless. I mean, nice. Toothless was going around following us everywhere. And they're all kind of like, never heard of this one before. So, and then they kind of were just kind of like asking him more questions. And they finally said, do you like Power Rangers? And he's like, yeah. And so before they stuck him with the IV, they brought him in a gift. And this was around Christmas time. And I was like, well, what's that for? And the nurse looked at me. She goes, oh, during Christmas, sometimes people bring toys to give to the kids. I was like, oh. So he opened it and his eyes just got so big and his smile was there. And it didn't last for long, 10 seconds, but to a mother, that smile meant the world to me. I would have given the person who brought that gift in the biggest hug ever, because it took him away from that moment. It took him away from why he was there, the scary things, all these big, huge machines that were behind him, all the machines that were there to, help him and, just sedate him.
It took him out of that reality for a moment.
Yeah, it just took him out of there. And he just smiled. And then he looked at me and goes, Mommy, I want to do this. And I was like, do what? And he's like, well, I want to give toys. I'm like, okay, I will try to remember next year during Christmas. We can do this. And so the next year, he actually had to have another infusion the next year. And it was probably around October. And I said to him, do you want to do this? And he goes, yeah, I still want to do that. And I said, okay. So I thought, well, we'll go get some toys and we'll bring them. And I thought, hey, why not? Why don't I put a message on Facebook and ask other people if they want to do it too? And I asked him, I said, do you want to do that? And he said, yeah. And he got really, really excited. And we got one van load the first year we took it. We had such an amazing response from people. And what I learned is that people want to give, they just don't know how to give. They don't know what steps to go to. They don't know, what's easiest for them to give. And this is something little like toy. You can give $1 Play-Doh, and that means the world to people, And so he was so excited. He went for that infusion And he got another toy that time too. So he was really awesome for that toy. So then the second year, it was another big year. And that's the year that I was like, well, we got to probably name this. If we're going to keep doing this, what are we going to name it? And I said, should we just name it his real name is James.
Yeah.
He's the fourth James. And I told my husband,
James
I said,
the fourth?
He's the fourth.
Wow.
And I said, if I'm going to name him James, he's going to have a different name because I have an Uncle Jim, a cousin Jim, and then there's all Jims on my husband's side. Like you got great grandpa, dad, and now him. I was like, we got to give him a different name. And my dad's an old cowboy, and he's like, well, how about Jesse James? And so that's where we came up with Jesse.
That's awesome.
And yeah. And so I said, do you want to name it James Toy Box? Do you want to name it Jesse's Toy Box? What do you want to name it? Or do you want some other kind of name? He goes, I really like Jesse's Toy Box, Mom. I'm like, okay, we'll go with that.
So then he had good taste. He had good taste.
It's got a good ring to it, And I put another message on Facebook. That's all I did. Put it on Facebook. And it was just crazy. We ended up with 2 van loads that year.
That's
amazing. It was such a great feeling. And he was so proud walking into that hospital. And there's these guys that park cars and stuff. And one of the guys' name's Roger. And he'd be in there and he'd like, hey, buddy, you want some help? And he's like, nope, I got this. This is my job. And he'd just keep going. I mean, he'd have a stack of toys. And Jesse was really short in stature. And he would have like huge toys just stacked up. And he want the biggest box. Nobody's taking that big box. That's his job. And so he really just loved it. It was something he truly, really believed in and he really loved because he knew what it did for him.
Yeah. And
so the third year he did it, and this was in 2017. That Christmas was our third year, and it was phenomenal. He ended up getting to go on the radio, and people are starting to get attention to this cute little 8-year-old.
Yeah, he was on the news.
He was on the news, and he was just really thinking this is cool. He would get up at, I think one time we had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to Fargo to be on the radio. Didn't hesitate. He was just like, yep, Mom, we got to tell everybody about this. And he was just all ready to go. And I was so proud of him. Yeah. Because most kids would be like, Mom, I just want to sleep in bed. And he's like, nope, this is my job. I'm going to do it. And I was like, I can do it for you. Nope, my job, Mom.
Nobody else can see except you. Like the passion this kid had. Like just hearing this is just, I have a smile ear to ear right now. And it makes, it's just amazing. So keep going. I just had to say that out loud.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. He was very special. And that year we ended up bringing 3 van loads. And when I'm saying van loads, I'm saying all my seats were laid down and they were up to the roof and there was not much room. And in one car, only one person rode in because the whole front passenger seat was full of toys. The response we had was amazing. And it was just truly a blessing for all these people to come and be able to give to these kids. We had things that you couldn't even imagine that these kids were getting. And it just felt so good. And so we went and we did that. We delivered the toys. And then that February of 18, February 13th, Jesse had his second open heart surgery and his 15th surgery. And he didn't do so well. They did a procedure called Ross, where they took his pulmonary valve and put it into his aortic valve. And then they gave him a cadaver's pulmonary valve. And he, they had him sedated, but he would come in and out and he would kind of try to talk. Well, before he went into surgery too, he was really scared for the surgery. He's not normally scared. And I had him go get the fart gun because we're regulars at Mayo. So I knew they had a fart gun from the Minions. Mm-hmm. And so there's a video of him before he went into surgery and he is playing the fart gun and just giggling. But before he went in there, he was so nervous. He said, Mom, if my heart gets better, can I still do the toy box?
Yeah. Was he nervous at that point in time? Was he nervous because he thought he was going to be surgery free after that? Was that
no, he didn't. He knew he was going to have more surgeries. There was a lot more surgeries. They were going to have to do surgery on his jaw and different things like for his facial, so he could just breathe better. But he was just nervous. I think he knew what was coming. And, you know, I kind of look at that and I was kind of like, I mean, he was just acting kind of like different. And sometimes I think kind of they have that intuition. But, and then he, you know, after he asked me if, you know, my heart gets better, can I still do Jessy Toy Box? And I'm like, buddy, you can do this for the rest of your life. This is your thing. I said, this is great. I want you to keep doing it. And he kind of smiled and then they took him away. And then he was in the hospital and he passed away on the 18th. So 5 days later, his body just gave out. He just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
His kidneys were failing. He started dialysis and they just put him on an ECMO machine, and that does everything for you. It pumps your heart, it does your kidneys, your lungs, everything. And he ended up having a stroke, which is one of the side effects of having this Ross procedure. And he just couldn't do it. His little body was tired and it was time for him to go.
Yeah. You know, that as a parent, I'm sure that was very difficult, regardless if it was your first, second, third, fourth, or 100th kid.
Oh yeah.
You know, you know, even for his siblings to have to lose their brother, I'm sure has been, or at least was difficult. I'm sure it's not easier, but I'm sure it's a good reminder being able to continue his dream and his movement.
Oh, yeah.
That really keeps him alive with you guys, you know, and everybody else too.
Yeah. And it's great because I get to talk about him all the time and it's like he's still here.
Yeah.
So I have the best of all worlds because I think a lot of people after you lose a child, you're kind of scared to talk about him. And that's one thing I stated to everybody. And I said, you are not going to stop talking about him. You're going to continue with what he wanted and you're going to remember him, because that was my biggest fear, because his youngest sister was only 5. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want her to forget him. And because they were best friends, they did everything together. And so that was the thing, but it's a struggle for them. My one daughter, she's going to be in therapy. I always say she's going to be a permanent fixture there. But she's my amazing kid. She thrives at everything. She loves life and she loves keeping up on the toy box. All of his siblings, his oldest brother is 21 and he does everything and anything for me. Like if I call him and I'm like, can you go pick up these toys at this one location where I have toy boxes at now? And he goes right in and gets them for me. So it's a family.
It's a family affair still a family affair. And you know, I love that. But it's not even just, it's not, you know, only because I've been to Wyndmere. It's not just a family affair there, you know, it's a community affair. And really,
it is.
You know, your guys' community. I've been to a lot of small towns in America, and you know, Wyndmere is no different than any other small town. You guys kind of band together. But you know, like I said, the fact that I knew about Jessy the first day that I got to Wyndmere, I knew about him before I knew you. So, you know, the fact that I got to know about him through people trying to raise money by selling keychains for $5 to donate to Jessy's Toy Box and do all these different things, and then spend time with the Morris family and you know, get the opportunity to meet you and speak to the kids at school and his classmates and hear from them like how awesome Jessy was and Dan too, because you know, I spent time with Dan. You know, Dan stick together, so that's what we did. So, you know, it was just, it's just amazing. It really is. It's an honor to know about Jessy's Toy Box and to know you and to know the community, because you guys, for not knowing Wyndmere before I got there or expecting to have as much of a time as I did, you guys have put a pretty good impact on me. So,
well, that's great.
I appreciate that.
Well, we're just, I'm glad I have this community and they're so supportive. I mean, they're amazing. Everything that they do and they continue to do. Jess had big dreams. His dream was to hit every 50 states in the United States. That was his goal. He wanted to get all this stuff. So it's just one of those things where we're trying to, with his wishes, we're trying to help him with his wishes and we're trying to continue it. And to me, I think it was kind of something I'm very lucky to have because this gets to keep me going because I see too many people after they lose a child that they fall to pieces. And this keeps me going and it keeps me helping everybody. And it's helping me continue to his dream. And now it's also become my family's dream. And it's just a good thing to continue doing.
Yeah, for sure. With that being said, Heather, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk about how Jesse's dream and ultimately your family's dream has grown since those 3 carloads.
All right, perfect.
Are you looking for that beer that fits your active lifestyle? Maybe a beer fit for running, a brew fit for hiking. What about that beer league that you're in? A brew fit for backflips, a beer for surfing, biking, and skiing. One fit for workouts or rest days. Maybe you're looking for that chill time beer. Time to hang out with friends drink. Regardless of the reason, Athletic Brewing has the beer for all times. Brewed without compromise. Enjoy craft beers without all the alcohol. Get 20% off your first order with code capital RWD20. Link in the description. Now, back to the episode. All right, and we're back. And before the break, Heather, we were talking about Jesse's dream. And really, like I said, ultimately your whole family's dream. And that's Jesse's Toy Box. Let's talk about what is Jesse's Toy Box and what is the mission for it?
Well, before Jesse passed away, we just collected around Christmas time. And after he died, I decided kids get sick 365 days out of the year. And that means on their birthdays, Christmas, Easter, Halloween, 4th of July, you name it, they get sick on it. And they're in the hospital. And it's no fun to be in the hospital on a regular day, but all those days. So with kids being sick 365 days out of the year, we now collect toys 365 days out of the year. So what we do now is we actually place a toy box in a business and businesses can have it. We like to have it for at least 6 weeks just because the traffic wise and people are like, oh, I forgot, I want to do that. And by the time they get back or whatever. So we like to keep for about the minimum 6 weeks. And then people can either choose to have it for 6 weeks, a couple months, or some people do it a year. And then there's also people that just do it around Christmas time, which is okay. But then we collect the toys all year long and we pick them up and then we deliver them to the hospital. We put a cute little sticker of a little boy on there, our little superhero. Is it
a sticker of Jesse?
Yep.
It is. It is that sticker. Oh, I missed that sticker. I'm going to have to get a new one because that one got destroyed when my bicycle crashed.
Well, I can mail you this and a shirt.
Awesome.
So, anyway, so with collecting the toys now, we collect different locations. We either ship toy boxes to the businesses that want it. We've had people, we're in 4 states now continuously. We're in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Florida. And so we have different people in different areas that volunteer to pick up the toys and sticker them and deliver them to the hospital for us. I set up everything with the hospitals and to meet up with them. And we've been in other states periodically. We have a lot of people that need to, for college or for other reasons, need to do community service.
Of course.
And so they are big at doing collections. They do different things to collect toys and then they take them to the hospital for us and stuff. But we're always looking to get more.
So how do people get involved in maybe setting up a box in their own community, in their own business, or maybe get involved in helping in a separate state, how people get involved with that?
Contact me through email, Facebook, Instagram, our website. Just contact me. I will set you up with a toy box. I will send you posters, and I will contact newspapers and everything to kind of give them the background story on Jess, so people kind of are aware of what's going on. And then I even do little sheets just so people understand the story. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of times their thing is people don't understand until their kids are in the hospital or if they've had a child. And that's a big thing. You know, I've had so many people say, Heather, I didn't understand, but my son had tonsils out and they got this toy and it just helped them so much. And we just have to thank you for this. And I love hearing back from families when their kids get toys. It makes my day. Yeah. And when you see them smiling, and it's touching to see that this little boy sticker that little toy is helping these kids smile and doing what he did, taking it away. That's 10 seconds and forgetting why you're there.
But
so you can reach out to me.
The thing that it is, though, and for everybody, as you continue to tell that, we're definitely going to make sure we have all those links so that they can contact with you in the description for this episode. But the fact that he just was able to do so much, and mm-hmm. I know we bring up that, you're doing this for the kids, but as you brought up earlier at the first half of the episode, it's helping more than just the kids. It's helping the parents. It's helping the family members. It's helping the doctors. It's helping everybody.
Big time.
So
I seen one of Jesse's doctors today, and he's the nicest guy, Dr. Aneem. And he seen me today, and I brought toys today. I brought 175 to our local infusion center today, and he came running up. And when you're in a hospital all the time, they become your second family. Yeah, they really do. And the nurses, everybody, you're just, when you lose somebody, it's like you lose a whole family because you don't get to see them anymore. And that's kind of sad. But, he's so appreciative of what we do. And he gets tears in his eyes because he just loves what Jessy did. And he knew Jess and he loved him. And for him to see what Jess brought and that we're continuing to do in his honor, every single time he just gets all teared and everything is thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's what we want to continue doing for these kids, because nobody needs to be scared of a big needle. Nobody likes that.
Nobody, especially a mini version of us. So
right. Adults. I always laugh because my oldest son is a big football player, and he's just a big, broad guy, and he had to get the flu shot. And it was Jess and the two sisters sitting in the room, and he was a senior in high school. They had to get a Buzzy Bee. And if you know what that is, it's like a cold pack that buzzes on your arm. And I was laughing so hard. I'm like, your little tiny little brother isn't even crying. And here you big football player, you're getting a Buzzy Bee. We don't let him live that one down at all yet to this day.
Good.
Yeah. But, so they're scared, and I'm just glad we can do it. But now we're in 4 states, and then periodically, but people that want to start, volunteering and helping us, it's really easy to do. You just set a box there. People they drop it off, you grab them, sticker them for us, and then ship or take it to the hospital and take a couple pictures. It's fun.
For everybody that's listening, anybody that wants to donate, is there any certain toys that people should, is there suggestions that you recommend for people to get?
Yeah. Legos are big.
Legos?
Gift cards are big. And I like to do crafts. I think that is like the most time consuming, or board games or cards. We do have an Amazon wish list under Jesse's Toy Box.
Okay.
And Target now has a wish list. So we do have a wish list with them.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll definitely get those links as well so that people can go, donate a toy or a gift card or something,
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Especially for everybody listening. I understand being a human being. Not everybody can be on the front line. We can't always be the ones putting the boxes out there, but we all have a part to play. And a lot of times just taking an opportunity to make a contribution is a huge impact. As you hear in this episode, Heather telling us, it's that toy that you get is going to change a family's, not even just a family, it's going to trickle from that family. It's going to trickle from that child to everybody that child's interacting with. So,
And schools too, for a lot of times now we have to do so much volunteering to even graduate. There's different things we can do for that too. There's one school close to us that they normally do a day of caring, which they go outside and they pick up yards for the elderly or different businesses. And this year they can't because of the pandemic. So they approached me and they're like, well, Heather, what can we do? And I said, well, would you guys, if I bought the fleece, would you guys help us make tie blankets? And so we have 41 kids that are going to come and help us make tie blankets.
Really?
So so those are awesome things that when you're in the hospital that are nice little personal things that you get to keep. And it's really nice. So yeah, that's kind of fun. So there's different things like that.
There was something that we were talking about before we started recording that I would love if you talked about. And that's the...
Sorry, my dog.
That's okay. That's okay. Must be somebody going by or coming home, one or the other.
Coming home.
But, we were talking about Jesse's class and the classmates that he had and the things that they're still doing at 10, 11 years old. They're making change. They're making impacts. Let's talk about that.
They are truly amazing. So when Jess died, he was in second grade. And he has one of the largest class in our small town. They have 32 kids at that time. They had 32 kids in the class, and their second grade teacher, for some reason, decided she was crazy. Mrs. Furch, we love her. She decided she was going to put all 32 kids in this small little room. And to this day, she says that's why she had to, is because they needed him and they needed to all be there. And when Jess left the room, he didn't want his classmates to be nervous. We left a book so they could learn about CHD. And we left a teddy bear in his desk. And the kids adored this dead teddy bear. And actually, after he died, they asked the kids that if they wanted to get rid of his desk. And he said, no, his desk is staying in our classroom this year. So they left the teddy bear in his seat all year long. They still made all of his art projects that went up on his locker. They made them all for him.
That's amazing.
They continuously remembered him and wanted him part of their class. And I knew this class was going to be amazing. And I right away told him, I said, I'm going to be your biggest stalker. I'm going to follow you guys at all of your games, your football, your basketball, you name it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader because you guys have been part of my life and I want you to stay part of my life. And so every year since he died, for his angelversary, they do different things. And this year they're in 5th grade and they wanted to do it. I think they try to up themselves a little bit every time.
Of course.
This year, so this year they got the student council together and they converse between they got split up again after 3rd grade. Because that 3rd grade teacher says, you're crazy. I'm not having all of them in one room. And they lost a bunch of kids, but then they gained, and they're still at 31 kids, which I'm shocked. Still big class, and it's mostly boys.
Oh, wow.
Just so, it's the next state team. I said that about my son's class, my oldest son's class. They were going to be state winners. This class is going to be the next state winners. So anyway, they decided that they were going to take a lantern, and they all wrote a message on there. And they lit the lantern and let it go. And then they all raised together their money, whether it was their allowance, birthday money, whatever. They raised $168. And they decided they wanted to help with Jesse's dream of collecting and sending to another state. And they chose Texas because of everything Texas had gone through with the power and everything. And so that kind of touched them. And so they wanted to do Texas. So I looked up a hospital, a children's hospital there in Texas outside of Houston. And I noticed that they liked pillowcases, that they like kids decorating. So the kids that are in the hospital could decorate their rooms with. And people who don't know, sometimes kids are there longer than 3 nights. They're there for months. And these rooms, you decorate them to your own personal likings. Sometimes you decorate the windows and you do different fun things like that, just to kind of make it feel like your own, even though it's not. And so you don't feel like you're in a hospital all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I upped the game with the kids. I told them, I said, take your $168 and buy books. I'm a big advocate on kids need to read or be read to. I just think that's a great escape, that you can be someplace else. You can be somebody else and you get to experience something that you can't experience all the time. And so I always say you get to be somebody else for a chapter or two.
Honestly, I wish you were around when I was a kid, because I am the worst when it comes to reading.
I read all the time to my kids.
It took me 5 months to read one book, and it was a book that I was halfway interested in. So
I will read 600-700 pages and I will get lost in it and you won't find me.
Yeah.
I'm just hiding, trying to read this book because I'm so into it. And if I'm not into a book, I can't read it. So it's got to be a really good author. So I said, well, how about this? Since we got so they wanted pillowcases decorated. And I said, well, I'll buy all the stuff. We'll puff paint. We'll do all this different stuff. We'll decorate pillowcases. And then I ended up buying the kids. I spent around $600 on toys for the kids to put in these. They got a craft item, something to kind of keep them busy, or a board game. Those are one of the gifts that they got to choose from. Then they got to pick a decoration for the room. Like there's a picture of Yoda and it says Yoda best.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was kind of fun. And then we had like little planters, little lights or headphones, some kind of electronic for them. And we got little bags and we put them all in these bags. And we had somebody actually who was going to go to the hospital I had chose, which is crazy. And it was like 10 miles from her aunt's house that she was going to. And I had these 3 big boxes and she's like, I can't take all these boxes. But so her boss ended up shipping them to her aunt's house so they could deliver them to the children's hospital.
That's
and
amazing.
That was just, yeah. So we got another state off of his checklist. And so next year too, what we're going to do is we're going to try to do what is going to be called is Reading for Jessy to Give Back. And we're going to have the schools in our area compete against each other on reading books. And for every book or AR point you get $1. And I'm going to find sponsors around different businesses to sponsor the kids. And then the kids will, each school will pick which state they want the toys to go to. And then we're going to ship them to that state.
That's awesome. So you know, I know Jesse's goal is to get to all 50 states. And I know there's ones that do it periodically or occasionally here and there, but how many states have you been to so far?
I think when I counted I think we were at like 7 or 8.
Okay. Well, hey, it's still early. You got plenty of time. And
3 years. Yeah. We're doing amazing for 3 years since he's passed away. So, you know, every year I hope to get a little bit more. And the pandemic really set us back. Yeah, it did. Because I had been traveling and flying to different places because I do a lot of speaking engagements and stuff to kind of spread the word of Jessy and to kind of explain what our mission is. And it's kind of fun to do that kind of stuff. And that kind of got to put it to a halt. I had to cancel, I think, like 6 different speaking engagements last year.
Yeah, I totally can understand that. I went from doing engagements all the time, as you know, even at the Widemere School, but to doing nothing since March of last year. So it's been over a year now since my last speech. And I don't think I could do them right now anyways, but I do miss them. And I hope that we get to have those again. And, you know, just sharing our messages, because, you know, obviously we have different messages, but ultimately it's the same. It's just spreading awareness and
spreading love.
Yeah, and spreading love. So, you know, I'm really Heather, like I said, I'm really thankful that we had an opportunity to get you on here.
Well, I'm glad we finally got to do this. It's awesome.
Me too. Like I know I've been quiet for everybody listening. I haven't said much, and that's because one, Heather's a great speaker. She does a great job on that part. But it's just I don't know if I would definitely have done the episode regardless, but it would have been like you were saying, the doctor that was Jesse's doctor gets emotional every time he sees you and the things that's going on. I'd probably break down in tears every single time if I had actually got to meet Jesse. The fact that I didn't get to meet him and I still get emotional as I am. And that, so everybody listen, that's why I've been quiet, is I'm holding the tears back. I'm trying to keep it all together while Heather's talking and sharing this amazing story of hope, not just, giving a toy, as easy as that is, but the hope that you're making a better opportunity for a child and you're continuing a dream for a child that, wanted to make a difference, not in just his own life, because, that's how it started. That's how it usually starts. Is we find something that we connect to. That's why I'm doing suicide awareness, because I have a huge connection to that. But the fact that he got that toy and that connection brought out the best in Jesse. And Jesse, from what I've been told, was already the best. So
he was a character. He always had a smile on his face. Didn't matter. He would have open heart surgery, and the next minute he was giggling and he was laughing. And he was a prankster.
Yes, I remember being told that.
Yeah, at the beginning, and I told you how everybody said he wasn't going to walk, talk, or even roll. It took him 3 years to say the word mom. And when he started saying mom, he could say anything and everything, and he never shut up. And he was like, talked a mile a minute, kind of like I do, but he exceeded everything. It took him a little longer to do everything, but he did amazing with it. And his little personality and his character you would never forget him. And he had the biggest dimples that just caught your eyes. And he had two different colored eyes. And that was another thing that caught people too, is he had two different colored eyes. His classmates still talk about that.
Yeah. I think I noticed that the first time I saw his picture. And but his, for anybody, if you get a chance, you'll see it at some point if you click on any of the links below. But Jesse definitely had a very contagious smile. Every time I look at his picture, I smile. So, again, something that I want to do, Heather, is before we close it off, is I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to the listeners. If you have any information you want to share with them, or any inspiration or anything like that, this is your opportunity.
I just, everybody, we all have our own stories. We all have a different story, and we all have to live with it. And I just want everybody to know that there is somebody out there, and we're all here for each other. And it doesn't matter what your story is. Don't forget that there's always somebody out there that is willing to be there for you. And I am so thankful for everybody that has blessed us and helped us continue Jesse's mission, because I couldn't do this without the help of every single person. And like you, Dan, for you approaching me and asking me to come on here, it's truly amazing. And I'm just feel so lucky and so blessed to have this opportunity to keep his dream and kind of keep a little piece of him alive. And it's a great feeling to know that there's so many people out there that want to give and continue, because so many times we see so much negative out there. It kind of hurts. But when you see stuff like this, the positive and the good of different stories and different people, and when they come together and we're doing something, it shows you that there's so much good out there. And I want to continue bringing good out there, and we all do. And we want to continue helping everybody smile. As we always say, we want to help people smile one toy at a time. So we're just all trying to reach out there and smile.
Yeah. And I love that, as you say, smile. As I don't remember if you remember the front of my bike, I have a sign that says, "Make a stranger smile, be the change."
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Now that you say that, yeah.
for anybody, it doesn't matter what our cause is.
Yep.
We all have the capacity and the ability to make a stranger smile. And I think that's important to keep in mind.
Yep. And it just takes a smile to get somebody to smile back.
Exactly.
It really does. So,
Heather, it's been a pleasure. I thank you so much for coming on and telling Jesse's story. It's been amazing. And I look forward to getting another opportunity to come to Winemere at some point.
Oh, that would be great to see you again.
Yes, at some point.
Well, thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Absolutely. And we'll be in touch soon. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Copyright OPAT Movement 2021.